HP is joining the 14-inch gaming laptop club this year with their new Omen Transcend 14. They've made one of the quietest, smallest, lightest, most portable gaming laptops available, but they've made some big compromises to get there. So let's see how it compares against the other 14-inch competition in this review. My Omen 14 has the shadow black finish, but it's also available in ceramic white too. The all-aluminum design feels great. The lid, interior, and bottom panel are all metal, resulting in only minor flex and a nice feeling build quality. The gap on the front isn't that big, so sometimes it's a little awkward to get your finger in to open the lid. My only issue is the wobbly screen. It's not too bad when actually using the laptop and typing, but if you bump the laptop, screen, or the table it's on, it flops around more than others. The hinges feel nice and smooth to open and close. I'm guessing they couldn't tighten them to reduce screen wobble without making the lid harder to open, as Asus's Zephyrus G14 is in a similar situation. The Omen is on the slimmer side for a 14-inch gaming laptop. It feels nice and portable at under 1.7 kilos or 3.7 pounds, and the small 140 watt Type-C charger helps keep total weight on the lower side. The Omen is one of the lightest gaming laptops we've recorded so far, but Asus's G14 is lighter. The difference in total weight with the chargers is a bit smaller between them, as the G14 uses a larger 180 watt brick, but the difference is small. Anyway, the Omen is lighter compared to many other 14-inch options. My configuration has Intel's Core Ultra 9 185H Media Lake processor, Nvidia's RTX 4070 graphics, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 14-inch 120Hz OLED screen, but it's available with lower specs for less money with the link below. My keyboard has per key RGB backlighting, but a 4-zone keyboard is an option too. All keys and secondary functions get lit up, and you've probably noticed the unique pudding design of the keycaps. The edges are translucent, allowing the lighting to really shine through compared to most other laptops. The keyboard is from HyperX, who HP previously acquired. And speaking of HyperX, my Omen 14 came bundled with their HyperX Cloud 3 wireless headset. They've configured it to automatically pair to the Omen 14 with a 2.4 GHz ultra-low latency connection, without any dongles or configuration. They're just linked at the factory to work straight out of the box. Back to the keyboard. Key brightness can be adjusted between 2 levels or turned off by holding the function and pressing the F4 key. And you can cycle through 10 different built-in lighting effects by holding function and pressing number 1 or 2, which light up while holding function so you know they're available. There's plenty more customization in the lighting tab of the included Omen Gaming Hub software, but it's worth noting that the 4-zone keyboard option would have less effects. I thought the keyboard felt good to type with. The keys have a nice clicky feel and sound. The touchpad worked alright and makes use of most of the available space. As for ports, the left side just has a Thunderbolt 4 Type-C port and 3.5mm audio combo jack. The right has 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-A ports, but we found them a little too close together. It can be difficult to unplug something if both are in use depending on the size of what you're connecting. The back has a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port and HDMI 2.1 output. I'd like if next time HP uses the available space above the rear ports to include some port icons. That just makes it easier to connect stuff without looking behind or turning the laptop around. Both Type-C ports can be used to charge the laptop, but if you connect the charger to the port on the left, you get this pop-up suggesting to use the rear port for optimal performance. So all of our testing has been done with the charger connected to the rear port, and both Type-C ports have DisplayPort 1.4 support for connecting screens, but they both connect to the Intel integrated graphics. HDMI is the only port that connects directly to the Nvidia graphics, and it could run our LG B9 TV at 4K 120Hz 12-bit with G-Sync. Getting inside requires unscrewing 4 of the smallest Phillips head screws I've ever seen. I was able to pry it off from the back corners with these tools. This one was a struggle even with pry tools, so I'll leave a link to these ones I use below. Inside, we've got the battery down the front and single PCIe Gen 4 M.2 M.2 slot on the left. That's it. Memory and Wi-Fi are soldered to the motherboard and cannot be changed. The performance from the 2TB PCIe Gen 4 SSD was excellent, and I was able to fit a double-sided 4TB drive in the slot too. We seem to be limited to Wi-Fi 6 speeds, despite having the latest Wi-Fi 7. I'm not sure what the deal is, but Alienware's M16R2 is the only other Intel Media Lake gaming laptop we've had with Wi-Fi 7 so far, and Dell noted that drivers for Wi-Fi 7 support are coming later, so hopefully that's the case with the Omen 14 too. HP's website has drivers from over 7 months ago, and Intel's driver update tool didn't find anything newer. The upgradability score is pretty bad. The G14 has a higher score as it's at least got upgradable Wi-Fi, while Lenovo's Legion Slim 5 has that too, but offers 2 M.2 slots for storage. MSI scores higher for having 2 upgradable memory sticks, which is rare in 14-inch gaming laptops. But those laptops are also bigger too, so that's the trade-off. The speakers are found underneath on the left and right sides towards the front. They sound above average and are still fairly clear with some bass at higher volume levels, but there's quite a lot of wrist rest vibration. The Latencymon results were decent. The Omen 14 is powered by a 6-cell 71Wh battery. You can use the Omen Gaming Hub software to automatically switch to the lowest eco performance mode when you unplug the charger, and under the power options tab you can enable dynamic refresh rate, which automatically lowers the screen's refresh rate down to 60Hz when you unplug the charger to save power. It automatically goes back to 120Hz when you plug back in, but unlike most other laptops, the screen doesn't take time flashing black during the change. Battery life was excellent for an Intel laptop, lasting for 8 hours and 48 minutes in a YouTube video playback test. It's basically the same as Lenovo's cheaper Slim 5 14-inch, while Asus's Zephyrus G14 lasted for 23% longer with only a slightly bigger battery. Anyway, it's a much better result compared to Alienware's M16R2, which has the same CPU and GPU as the Omen 14. Let's check out thermals next. The Omen 14 has 2 fans inside with holes for air intake directly above the fans in the bottom panel. Air only gets exhausted out of the back, so no hot air blowing on your mouse hand. HP's Omen Gaming Hub software lets us change between different performance modes, which from lowest to highest are Eco, Balanced, and Performance. You can set the fan speed to maximum or manual to customize it in Balanced and Performance modes. Performance mode also has advanced settings, which lets you enable smart performance gain. Basically, this increases the maximum CPU and GPU power budget by up to 15 watts. It's not on by default, but all of our testing has been done with it on and set to 15 watts. There's also this option to allow for a higher level of battery drain if needed, but we didn't notice any battery drain during stress testing. The internal temps were fine when sitting there idle. The rest of the results are from combined CPU and GPU stress tests, which aim to represent a worst-case full-load scenario. But even in the worst case, temperatures are what I'd consider to be ice-cold when it comes to a gaming laptop in this workload. Setting the fans to maximum didn't make much difference. Closing the lid and docking the laptop didn't change much either, so no problems doing that. And the cooling pad I test with, linked below, only lowered temps slightly. There's no difference in clock speeds with the fans maxed out, lid closed, or cooling pad in use, because thermals were not a limit. The NVIDIA control panel says that the maximum GPU power limit is 65 watts with dynamic boost, but with the CPU running at around 30 watts, our GPU maxed out at 60 watts. So on the lower side for the RTX 4070, here's how a game performs with the different performance modes. Enabling smart performance gain at the maximum 15 watts gives a clear boost to FPS, but realistically, FPS is still kind of low at the screen's native resolution, but it is possible to significantly improve the experience by either using DLSS, a lower resolution, or a combination of the two, which still looked fine and played well. The CPU can use more power if the GPU is idle, like in Cinebench. Balanced and performance mode are basically the same when it comes to single core, but eco mode was half as much. Eco mode felt a bit laggy at times, and is only recommended for light tasks on battery. This is the second time we've had a gaming laptop with this processor. Alienware's M16R2 scored 12% higher in multi-core, but that is a larger 16-inch gaming laptop. It's got more cooling capacity, so can run the hardware with higher power limits to get more performance. Anyway, it's ahead of other 14-inch laptops, except for Apple's MacBook Pro. Performance lowers if we unplug the charger and instead run off of battery power, but it's still fairly good relative to the same selection of laptops. Basically, CPU performance should be good on and off the battery. It's still ahead of the other 14-inch laptops, except for the MacBook, but some of them are close. Most laptops I test are in the low 30 degrees Celsius range on the keyboard at idle, and the Omen 14 was in line with this and felt cool. It gets warmer with the stress test running, but it's not hot and still feels fine. Balanced mode was slightly warmer, but it's still nowhere near close to being a problem. Performance mode was a little warmer again, but the wrist rest and WASD area are only a little warm. The middle is warmer, but not uncomfortable. It's a little cooler with the fans maxed out, and as we saw earlier, this boosts CPU power but lowers GPU power. Surprisingly, it's not too loud either. Let's have a listen. The fans were silent when just sitting there idle, but even at max speed, it's quieter when compared to most other gaming laptops that I've tested. This is a great result, but the compromise, as you'll see soon in the game benchmarks, is lower performance. So the Omen is one of the quietest gaming laptops we've ever tested, with lower fan noise than most others in the highest performance mode, and that's because the GPU gets less power. But does this actually make it cooler? The keyboard temps aren't actually that different compared to the G14. The G14 was actually cooler on the WASD area, about the same in the middle, but hotter up the back, though you don't really need to touch there. And let's not forget that we can lower the fan speed on other laptops too. We measured the G14 at just over 46 decibels in performance mode, which is 2 modes below its maximum power, and it's less than a decibel louder than HP's Omen 14 in its highest performance mode. But the G14 still performed slightly better in Cyberpunk 2077. Basically, it's possible to lower the fan noise on other gaming laptops by using lower performance modes, making them similar and competitive to the Omen, while also offering better performance than the Omen. Alright, the OLED screen is one of the best parts of this laptop, but it's got some downsides too. The OLED screen offers very high color gamut, perfect for both content creators and gamers. Brightness is decent, reaching 400 nits in SDR mode and 450 nits with HDR enabled. This is similar when compared to other OLED laptops tested so far. You've got to go for a mini LED panel if you want a much brighter screen, but I don't think those are available in 14-inch gaming laptops yet. Backlight bleed doesn't exist with OLED. Each pixel gets lit individually, so black just means pixels off. The screen is glossy, so reflections will be easier to see and can be annoying depending on your lighting situation and what's behind you. Another benefit of OLED is an insanely fast gray-to-gray response time. The panel is lightning quick, which is exactly what competitive gamers want. It's only matched by other laptops with OLED screens. Everything else is at least a few milliseconds slower, though realistically, anything under 5 milliseconds is going to be plenty quick for most people. The total system latency is the amount of time between a mouse click and when a gunshot fire appears on the screen in Counter-Strike 2. It's not too different compared to other 14-inch gaming laptops in this regard, and that's despite this laptop not having a MUX Switch. The software lets you swap to integrated graphics only with a reboot. No MUX means no G-Sync, but adaptive sync is available from the integrated graphics. Ultimately, this isn't that big of a deal, as the MUX Switch matters far less than it used to since Microsoft's Queso update. There's a 1080p camera above the screen, and it has IR for Windows Hello Face Unlock. Here's how the camera and microphones look and sound, and this is what it sounds like while typing on the keyboard. Gaming is where the Omen 14 starts to fall apart. We've tested it with these settings for best results, but performance isn't great. Cyberpunk 2077 was tested with our own custom test run, and I've got the Omen 14 shown by the red highlight. At 1080p, its RTX 4070 isn't that much better compared to HP's budget-friendly Victor series with a lower-tier RTX 4050. Performance isn't that impressive at 1440p either. Even Asus's last-gen G14 with lower-tier 4060 had a lead, while the newer 2024 G14 with the same GPU had an 18% higher average FPS. Red Dead Redemption 2 was tested with the game's benchmark. At 1080p, it's basically matching HP's Victus with lower-tier RTX 4050 again. Even HP's own Omen Transcend 16 was able to reach a 33% higher average FPS with the same GPU. The 4070 in the Omen 14 was getting beaten by an RTX 3060 laptop from a couple of years ago, which also has less VRAM. Yikes. I mean, yeah, the Omen is a thinner and lighter laptop, but there's not much excuse when Asus's lighter G14 can reach a 32% higher average FPS. Control is a GPU-heavy game, so the Omen's lower GPU power means it's a similar story here too. Not really all that different compared to far cheaper RTX 4050 laptops. Asus's G14 was reaching a 22% higher average FPS at 1080p, and 24% higher at 1440p, where again, the 4070 in HP's Omen 14 was similar to RTX 4050 laptops with lower specs but more GPU power. Of course, let's not forget you could absolutely boost performance to get a more playable experience by using features like DLSS, running at a lower resolution, or a combination of the two. Surely the Omen 14 does better in games than that, right? Well, it actually did much worse the first time. Let me explain. We've tested all these games multiple times now, because when we first got this laptop, the RTX 4070 graphics ran at just 40 watts, while the CPU ran up to 50 watts, and that combination resulted in very poor 1% lows, which meant lots of stuttering in games, and just inconsistent results. I actually ended up reinstalling Windows, but I found that our games were still performing the same, so I was ready to accept that this is just how the Omen 14 performs. But then randomly a few days later, performance got better. The only thing that changed is HP's Omen Hub software automatically updated itself with the July 8 update, but the changelog doesn't mention anything about performance, so I don't know if that was just a coincidence. Nothing else has changed. I've got the same NVIDIA drivers and same BIOS still. But after whatever that change was, the GPU started running at 60 watts and CPU at 30 watts. So there was the same 90 watt power budget before and after the reset, it just got spread out differently. So yeah, I don't know if there was some problem that was fixed by an update, or if it was just bad luck or a coincidence that when I opened games, it decided to only use 40 watts on the GPU instead of 60. But the problem hasn't resurfaced, so I'm gonna assume it was the Omen Hub software updating. Anyway, it performs fine now. And by fine, I do mean that sometimes it gets beaten by RTX 4050 laptops, as we saw in those games. But again, it was much worse the first time around. Here are the 3D Mark results. Now for some content creation tests. Just like the games, the lower power limits mean it can't compete against similarly spec'd laptops. And it still trails behind Asus's Zephyrus G14 with the same GPU, though not by as much here. The BIOS is fairly basic compared to other laptops like those from MSI, Lenovo, or Dell, though there are a few more options compared to what Asus offers. Linux support was tested with an Ubuntu 24.04 live CD. By default, the keyboard, touchpad, camera, and Wi-Fi all worked fine, but the speakers did not. Keyboard shortcuts for adjusting screen brightness, keyboard brightness, and keyboard effect worked. Pricing and availability will change over time, so check the link below the video for updates and current sales. And if the Omen 14 does have a good sale, we'll be sure to add it to our gaminglaptop.deals website. Though, as you're about to see, it's gonna have to be a pretty amazing deal to make it to the deal site. Anyway, we update the deal site every day to include all of the latest sales, so make sure that you check it out regularly to save money on your next gaming laptop. At the time of recording, the lower tier RTX 4060 configuration is on sale for $1,300 US, while the higher tier RTX 4070 version we've looked at in this video goes for $1,700. But that's while on sale. Full price is $2,000. ASUS's Zephyrus G14 with 4060 graphics is available for the same price as the Omen 14 with 4060, but the 4070 version of the G14 is $50 more than the Omen with the current sale. At full price, they're both the same. The Omen 14 would have had a place as the smallest and lightest 14-inch gaming laptop, and that seemed to be how HP was ready to market it going into CES 2024 in January this year. But unfortunately for them, that's right when ASUS's new Zephyrus G14 came out and beat them to the punch. The size and weight difference between them really isn't that big, but what's impressive is just how much better the G14 performs in games, while technically being smaller in all dimensions and weighing less. So then, does the Omen have any advantages? I mean, yeah, it is quieter compared to most other gaming laptops, but as we saw, we can also run other gaming laptops in their lower performance modes to reduce fan speeds to similar amounts while still offering better performance in games. The Omen's battery life is pretty good, especially for an Intel-based laptop. It's got a nice OLED screen. It's got better CPU performance compared to other 14-inch gaming laptops we've tested. Granted, the difference isn't really that big, though the gap does widen when we take away the chargers. And of course, the Omen is light and portable with its USB Type-C charger. But the 140-watt charger is the reason the RTX 4070 GPU runs at 60 watts of power, which is quite a bit less compared to the 100 to 140 watts seen from the same GPU but in a bigger laptop. The G14 is able to run the 4070 with a higher 90 watt power limit, which means better FPS in games. And this is possible due to its 180 watt charger. I don't know, if HP really wanted to go for USB Type-C charging, maybe they would have been better off waiting another generation for 240 watt Type-C charging to come around, because then they would get more power than 140 watts and they would be able to boost the GPU a bit more. The Omen also does not have a MUX Switch, though this should be less important since the queso update from Microsoft. The screen wobble was a bit annoying. I'm not sure why Wi-Fi 7 runs at Wi-Fi 6 speeds. I'm not personally a fan of the glossy screen reflections, but I'm willing to live with it because OLED is so nice. But yeah, the main thing is just the lack of GPU power for gaming. Basically, if you're after a 14-inch gaming laptop, in my opinion, it's easily worth spending an extra $50 to get the ASUS Zephyrus G14 instead of the Omen 14, assuming we're talking about the RTX 4070. The 4060 configs have gone for the same price on sale, so in that price, I would just get the G14. So check out the G14 over here next. I go into way more depth about it in that one, and while I've demonstrated how it beats the Omen 14 in this video, the G14 still isn't perfect. It's got its own problems too, so I'll see you in that one next.